Okay, that's one. Hi, everyone. I'm Ken Rakowski. That's Sandy Grigsby, and this is all around relationships. And this could be a relationship with yourself, with your significant other, or what is around you. We are here every single Tuesday. This is a live show, but many of you watch it on archives. But please pitch in, throw in your ideas. Every archive inside the portal have all the detailed lists that we talk about. So if you miss something, it's there. You're not missing anything at all. Sandy, of course, is one of the top branding experts, personal branding experts on the planet. She focuses on branding. I guess, your guy, you know, I'm the metal guy. But I do want to start with something very interesting. I want you to start with your family photo.
Oh.
Okay, and there's a reason
I have to
why.
Find it.
Yeah, find your family photo, and this is where we're going to start with. And this is important because remember, we don't talk about politics here or religion. We talk about policy. We'll talk about relationships, and we'll talk about things that might be uncomfortable at times. But I want to start with Sandy's family photo because I think it sets a platform. It starts with a platform. That is, we hear this whole divisionary conversation. You know, there's one side or another side. You're going to meet somebody that's in the middle. So why don't you show your family photo up? This is you and your mom and dad. So that's Sandy's dad. That's Sandy's mom.
That's my dog. But
and her dog.
Here we go. Dad, mom.
Right.
Yorkies.
Yeah.
Myself.
Right. And your dad is from where?
My dad is born in New York, raised in Texas.
Got it. And your mom is from?
Switzerland.
So your mom is white as a snowflake, and your dad is as black as black as.
This is my favorite.
There's mom and dad.
Oh, I love that picture.
See it without the light.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that
you can see it. You can see mom and dad.
Wow.
Beautiful couple, wonderful couple. But you are what?
I'm 50-50.
But when you were young, you were kind of chastised, weren't you? Because you black skin, dark skin. You've gotten lighter as you got older.
Yes, because of sun. I don't go in the sun. It's a beauty thing, not an anti-sun thing, because sun makes you old quick. So I stay out. My face stays out. But
by the way, Alan's only 22 years old. He's been out in the sun a lot.
Hi, Alan. But ultimately, yes, growing up was my parents. First of all, they met in Spain. My dad was in the Air Force, and my mom was studying at the University of Madrid. She was studying Spanish. She's from Switzerland. They met in Spain. They were together for about 8 years before they had me. They got married about 5 years before they had me. They traveled all over Europe. My dad learned a bunch of different languages. My mom was already fluent in
Dad's very, very educated.
Very educated, but he became educated. He grew up in the slums of Texas. Like when you think the projects, that was my dad. His mom she was a single mom with 8 children, and my dad was the oldest boy and the second child. So he decided to pick himself up out of the ghetto and move to the military. He enlisted himself in the military because he knew at the time he would be drafted, and he was watching all of his friends in that Black community that were coming back from the war crazy or killing themselves, or something was going on, or they were dead. So he decided to draft himself. And then that's what he did. He got an education. He studied abroad. He actively sought out a way to better himself. He met my mom. They got married. They had me in Switzerland. They lived there for a year, and then they decided they needed to move back to the US. And when they did that, they selected the San Francisco Bay Area because they felt it was a melting pot.
But prior to that, there was even a situation where your mom and dad were in a car accident.
Yeah, this was the many years before they had kids. They were driving somewhere between Texas and Alabama.
Okay.
Somewhere in that window. I don't have all the details because my dad told me this story a long time ago and wasn't specific. But they were driving, and someone, I won't name names, but it was not a Black person, decided that they shouldn't be together because it was a very dark man and a white woman. And they ran them off the road, and my parents their car rolled a few times. He was thrown out of the vehicle, and my mom woke up in the hospital, and she asked where her husband was, and they said that she was the only person in the accident and there was no one else. And when she finally said, well, my husband's Black, they refused to treat her. So she had to leave the hospital, and his mom came and got her, and then they had to go to the Black designated hospital and get my dad. So that happened many times. My dad always struggled with discrimination in the workplace. He was incredibly intelligent. He was one of the first Black men to go to a public university to teach computer programming at that time. So he was a computer engineer programmer, highly intelligent, very high IQ. and he struggled keeping work because of the color of his skin.
Let me ask, what are you? Really, what are you? Are you seen as black, or are you seen as Caucasian? What are you?
You know, it's interesting. More often than not, I get cast in that Latina category because people don't really know what I am. But I found now during all of this, a lot of people assume I'm white because they say the way I look and the way I speak is white, which
Your father spoke proper.
I look and I speak exactly like my father. And if you look at the pictures of my dad, I look exactly like my father. And it's just, I find that to be shocking in a way.
So again, we're not picking sides. We're not here. Actually, today's conversation is how to get along. And get along might be in the situation we're in, but also along with one another, communication. And I put some simple, easy steps together. And these easy steps, the first key is this, and it's the most important. Anytime we're in a certain situation that can get heated, it's the most important 2 words that we always have to take in consideration. And it's very simple. Be still. Be still. Just for a moment. Because as things flare up, blow up, come on, you get that one phone call where they're going to say something that's horrible to you and you're hearing it, you go, oh, be still. And those 2 words, they echo in my mind constantly when you and I have been in some really tumultuous situations, not with each other, against each other, but challenges that have gone after us. In our short period of our relationship, we've been in some really horrible situations because people have come after us. And the first thing is, Sandy, be still. I don't say calm down. I don't use terminology that can be dangerous like that, but be still. And she says the same thing to me. And it's like, all right, let's zen for a moment. Let's just know that this moment right now is crucial. So by being still, that's one of the things we do. Now, in this situation, you and I have been watching TV. We did take a ride to where the looting took place in Santa Monica. We saw the negative side and we saw the positive side.
Yeah.
Negative side was?
A lot of things were destroyed. Buildings and businesses were broken into. There was so much graffiti on the street. It was mind-blowing.
It was sad.
But the positives.
Positive.
There were people who volunteered and were out there scrubbing the graffiti off. They were putting up boards to close up the windows of the buildings that had been broken into, and they were sweeping the streets.
And they weren't even organized, but it looked like it was organized. These were people that just wanted to get back to what it looked like before. And it was admirable. It was soothing, actually, as we were bike riding and we saw these groups and groups, and it wasn't all one color. It was everybody. It was a rainbow of people helping to fix things up. And it was so soothing to see that. I'm getting choked up a little.
Yeah, it was beautiful to see it.
So you get 2 extremes, the night extreme and then the day extreme. And we're not going to get into the politics behind what's going on, but I wanted to talk about this idea of coming together. I wanted Sandy to be open and transparent with her past because she's been in a situation when she was young on one side. Matter of fact, even in her own family, they kind of put you on one side compared to the other side, and you felt like you never had a place.
Well, growing up, I never felt like I fit in. The kids at school, we grew up in a very multicultural neighborhood community, but there were very few Blacks in my community. So I was one of few at my school. I believe there were only 3 in total at my high school, and I wasn't even considered Black. So growing up, we had a lot of Asians, we had a lot of people from the Middle East, a lot of Europeans, a lot of Caucasians. We had people from everywhere except for very few Blacks. So I never fit in because I didn't know which community I belonged to. I didn't fit in with the Persian community because I didn't speak Farsi and I wasn't Persian. I didn't fit in with the Indian community, same reasons. But at the same time, I did fit in because they didn't know if I was one of them if they saw me at first glance. In elementary school, a lot of my friends were white, but I didn't fit in with them. I was the outcast. We didn't have very many Blacks to associate with.
But you did date a lot of Black men later on.
Later I did. Yeah. Later I did because I was trying to feel which world did I fit into? Did I fit into the Black world? Did I fit into the white world? I even dated Middle Eastern people, Asian people, the spectrum. And I never quite fit in. And it took me decades to realize I didn't need to fit in.
There you go. That's the key. By the way, I am half from Tunisia. So I am
half black.
I'm half.
He's not
I'm
half
half,
black.
I'm half African. From here down, I'm half African. Just to let you know, that's another story. Joette, calm down. I'm just letting you know there's some things happening
It's
here.
true. Just saying.
So, but this
So
this idea of fitting in, it's so important for people to fit in.
Yeah, it is.
it
And
is.
Well, even Oprah said after she interviews, people always seek that affirmation. They seek that, was I okay? Was it good? Did it work? Did I fit in?
fitting in. It's true, right? We all want to be judged in a positive way and be accepted. And fitting in means acceptance. And when you don't have acceptance, you seek acceptance. And generally, we seek acceptance from a step down if we don't get it from the step up. And that's where it gets dangerous, is when people then say, oh, I'm not accepted, or I don't get along here. I'm going to find another place to get along or be accepted. And generally, they might lower their bars on what they're accepting, and that gets dangerous. And I think that's what's really dragging a lot of younger people in right now, is they're feeling accepted in a crowd of negative emotions and a direction that's not positive, because they need to elevate themselves. Everyone here is elevating themselves. We're all part of this group of saying, we don't accept ourselves for our lower part of who we are. We want to only see ourselves from the better side of what we are. And that's hard, by the way. It really is. It's a duality that's not difficult to live within, but when we do, boy, do we feel good, and we hang out with great people then. Back to Sandy. Well, no,
It's Sandy's show today.
well, it's always kind of the Sandy show, okay? You make me look great. Look at you. And she just worked out. You have to understand that. That's coming out of the gym. Look at her. Oh, yeah. I mean, I got plastic surgery this morning. By the way, I do get a haircut tomorrow. I'm so excited. 3 o'clock haircut. So as you went through then this process of trying to figure out where you fit in, realizing that fitting in wasn't important, what kind of mistakes did you make? Well, no, I don't know.
I mean, in where I made mistakes in every direction.
How about relationships? Because if this is about getting along, did you ever say, all right, today I am black, and you shunned your non-black friends, or today I am going to be this? Were you ever on one side or another? Did you ever position yourself like that?
I never shunned anyone, but I did try to fit in ways that weren't unique to me and that didn't feel right. I did. So like when I dated someone from the Middle East, and I tried to fit into their community, and I did everything and it didn't work. And then there was a huge clash. And then I dated someone Asian, and it was the same thing. I tried to fit in, it didn't work. It was a huge clash. So what I realized is I had to just be me. And when I did that in all of my relationships, whether I dated someone black, white, it didn't matter. I knew if it was going to work or not because I was true to me.
Yeah.
So even in my relationship with Ken, I mean, I had to tell you, I went to Illinois to his dad's wedding. I was the darkest person there. It was a little weird. But, you know, I just was me and I fit in. And now his family loves me. I love his family, and it just works.
And I'm maybe, again, trying to get along with everyone. People may not know this. I grew up in an all-white environment. And then when I went to college, realizing I grew up in a very one-sided position, I went to a black fraternity. Actually, the toughest black fraternity you could ever imagine, called Omega Psi Phi. Q-Dogs, they brand their sign into the graduates' arms, the people that go through. So I went from one extreme to another, and I don't think I've dated any Caucasian women. No.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Not
So
really.
so we live in this space that we feel that's right, and what's right for me. First, you and I are definitely soulmates. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
And I have always told you, be yourself, and boy, are you yourself.
Yeah,
And I think that's our first problem in today's society. We forget about being ourselves.
we do.
We don't accept
Thank you.
ourselves.
What was that?
We don't accept ourselves because even for me, trying to fit in and trying to figure out who I am when I was constantly told all these things and they weren't good. And in the work field, getting discriminated against in the work field, women hated me. They hated me in school. They hated me everywhere. So it's like trying to be confident in who I am. And I'll be 55 and I'm just coming into, I'm okay with who I am.
Yeah.
And some people are like, I can't believe you just say those things. I go, why? What are we going to?
Yeah.
There's time for a filter and there's time not. And I know where that, where I need one.
Oh no, Mike, what is your ethnicity?
I'm a Heinz 58.
Oh, not 57.
Basically. My dad was born in St. Croix.
Okay.
So I'm West Indian, French, Dutch, Panamanian. That's just a start.
Wow.
So when you described how you grew up, I was that kid too. Is the black people wanted me to be black, the whites wanted me to be white. I was Catholic and I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Yep.
So, I was just having a discussion with Ali Gabriel, the musician, you're our musician buddy, right before we got on. And he actually took a road trip and he went back south to Alabama. He's so torn apart by what's going on. It's really killing him. So we were just having discussions about race right before, and he's really torn up over this stuff. And what you have to, when you're mixed race, as you know, it's interesting. People want to pull you in two different ways. I remember one thing that stands out. I was a decent baseball player. I was in the batter's box and for a high school game, and a guy yelled from the crowd, "I've never seen the nigger with blue eyes." And I was like, he succeeded in messing up my at bat for sure. I'm sure I struck out, but I mean, that's how blatant it was, yelling into a crowd to a kid that's playing baseball. So that's, people are kind of intolerant a little bit, putting it lightly. And my best friend's grandmother loved me, but she was, she used to tell me that my blue eyes saved me.
Yeah, well.
And she loved me.
What just happened was, obviously there's a stereotype. There's always that stereotype. We have some beautiful black men in metal who have green eyes.
Yeah.
Like insanely
Beautiful
green eyes. But there's a stereotype which isn't necessary.
Actually, I had a discussion with him about, because he's on the lighter side, about even though he's black, he is not mixed like I am. He gets treated sometimes like he is mixed like I am, because he said the blacks don't know what to say to him because of his eyes and his look. So they are different around him at times. So
the week before, we talked about how to listen properly. And I think when we start to learn to get along, the first thing is just to listen. We're going through a lot of tension right now. Oh my God, the tension. And I think the tension's always been there. Just now everything's just bubbled because of people being locked in for the last couple of months. Unemployment is at a record rate. People are looking for some type of direction and they can't seem to find it. So tensions are high. The first thing I want us to do is listen with intent to understand. Your intent is to understand, not to somehow convince them of your agenda, not to push them. Listen with intent to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You do that with me all the time, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, you really do. You do try. I, at times, try to listen knowing I have an agenda, and I do that with everyone. It's not just you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you are very patient with me, and I really appreciate that, okay? And I've learned a lot from you on how to do it also, okay? I'm getting better at it. There are times where you go, well, but it's true. Everyone has to understand. There are times where Sandy says, just listen to me. And I'm always that person that's ready to jump. And the minute I say, all right, I'll listen, I'll shut up and I'll listen. I do that. I haven't done that in the past, okay? So I plead to you to do the same thing.
But what happens when you do listen?
I get information that I didn't know, or I go back to the very first thing I said, be still. I am still now. I am more aware and I'm welcoming what's going on. And that's the next one. So yeah, Alan, go ahead. You want to say something, Alan? Go for it.
You become at one with who you're listening to, rather than just waiting for a break for you to interject, because your mind is overflowing with good ideas and reactions and everything else. But to truly listen, you combine, and so instead of atonement, at-one-ment is what that opportunity presents.
You're absolutely right.
I like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Alan. So then that goes to number. I basically wrote these earlier. I want you to. This is something we're not doing in this whole situation. That is, walk in the other person's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I always am fascinated when a woman is pregnant and somehow, some way, the women think us men will understand what it's like to be pregnant. We can't, but we don't even try.
No.
It's like, come on. Or someone that's going through a lot of these situations, We have to somehow, some way understand what it's like to be in their shoes, what they're going through economically, financially, job-wise, family, what their position in life is. Try to imagine. And that goes back to be still. The minute we are still, hey, Jason.
Oh, what's going on?
Great to hear you. You forgot,
Absolutely.
You missed the very, very beginning.
Oh, I know. I know. It's been, as you know, a lot of stuff's been going on. So I've been. Yeah,
This is Sandy.
I remember Sandy.
Sandy's my partner. Just real quick can you go back to your photo real quick, please? I just want you to understand something. I want you to understand Sandy's position in this conversation, why it's a unique one that none of us on this call, other than maybe Mike, could understand. So this is Sandy's family, her mother and father. So
I thought looks I didn't see that coming at all.
Here's my dad.
Hello.
He's the guy with the golf clubs on the end with the hat on.
there we go.
How cute.
So a unique situation where we're talking about how to get along.
Right.
And that's what the dialogue is right now. Our first thing is, in a moment of crisis, first thing you do is be still.
Okay.
Second thing is to listen with intent to
Absolutely.
really understand.
Absolutely.
Listen to understand. Third is to somehow imagine being in the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
Really try to understand what's going on. You may never, ever be in that other person's shoes, but try to imagine what it is.
And one way to help with that is to remember, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone's doing something that you think is cruel or hurtful or mean, there's something that has gone on, happened, immediate or past, that's creating them to hurt.
That's powerful, everyone. Hear what she just
So
said.
empathy. So we're talking about empathy.
Well, no, empathy is different. That's a feeling. I want you to imagine. So if I say, imagine someone stepping on your hand and the pain you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go, oh, I feel that. I can understand. Then I want you now to feel the pain emotionally. So first you want to actually first listen with intent to understand. I understand that pain. Oh my God. Now I want you to feel. Empathy is the feel part.
Okay.
Right? And the reason why we want to go through this is because I think what we're all doing is we're all reacting right now. Everyone is reacting to whatever has been programmed. And you're the same way. Even right now, Sandy's in this really interesting duality because she takes different roles. And that is she sees her dad's family and how they would react, and then sees her mom's family, how they react. And you have like two things inside you at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It is a challenge.
It's a challenge, and I think it's also a benefit because you actually get to see both perspectives up close, opposed to having one opinion only or another opinion only. You get the opposite. Because my family's Creole, so we got all kind of
you
everything.
got same thing with mine.
Yeah. So it's like, I got family that it's all over the place. So but I think it does give you different perspectives.
This is the real Wonder Woman. Way before Linda Carter, everyone. Just want to let you know this is the true Wonder Woman right here.
So question is, do you have a sister?
No.
No. The clone is still at the factory.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't even say that. Don't ever say that. I will buy up all the clones. Okay. 1, listen with intent. 2, walk in their shoes. Number 3, here it is, everyone. Be polite.
Oh, yes.
Whatever.
Be polite.
Sometimes that's so hard.
Yeah, it is, especially when you feel like they're going after you. And I think what happens is we forget they're not going after you. They're actually trying to figure out something inside them.
Hurt people hurt people.
Hurt people hurt people.
Well, you think about like those saying, people hurt people that are closest to them. So when they're in pain and suffering, the people they attack is going to be the ones around them, and they lash out.
Jason, I think social media, it goes right back to Taylor Swift. I love what she says. When someone says something in public to somebody, I got it. But when they say it with a tweet, they're wimping out.
Right, yeah.
It's a cop-out. Yeah. I think social media has allowed us to be wimps because we're not really saying this. We're typing it and we're saying it to somebody we don't even see. And it's hurtful.
Yeah, I agree.
God, social media, to me, stay off of social media unless you have adult supervision with you. Because I just saw some stats come out. To me, Hong Kong is a very big issue. We don't really talk about it. It's affecting millions and millions of people. It's an entire country that's being displaced. It's about 11 million to 12 million people right now that are being displaced. If you go look at Facebook in the last 4 days, there's been 8 million posts about what has happened in 4 days.
Wow.
With all of Hong Kong, there's only been 1 million posts over the last year.
Wow.
Now, why? Is because the platforms are gamifying this.
Mm-hmm.
They're making sure your feeds have as much what it takes to keep you going into their feeds and either reading or interacting. It's a machine that's used to sell advertising. Remember, we're all tools when it comes to Facebook and TV. Remember, our function is to watch and to engage, because advertisers sell them, or they make money on us because advertisers are their customer. Never
Absolutely.
forget that, except for Instagram, or not Instagram, except for LinkedIn. LinkedIn's customers are people that pay for it, like headhunters and recruiters. So it's a different type of customer. So you don't see the same conversation on LinkedIn than you do on Facebook. It's pretty fascinating, actually. Go on to LinkedIn and it's a different dialogue. It's a different conversation, which kind of blows my mind.
It is.
So just be aware of that. And you can see the dynamics of the AI that's working inside Facebook compared to LinkedIn. Okay, next, we said be polite. How you doing at being polite? Let me ask you what, being polite, you're Sicilian. Our job is to erupt and then to calm down and cool down real fast. It's just part of our nature. We get mad and then everything's fine a minute later. Am I right?
Exactly. But I've been so much better this last year. And I'm only saying this last year. People used to get the biggest kick out of firing me up because I would go toe to toe and I won't back down. I don't care how big you are or whatever. That's our nature. But I'm so sweet and polite right now. I am just precious.
What are you doing?
I'm just sweet. I listen. People say whatever and I just listen. And when they're done talking, I kind of get where they're at. And then I'll either respond. I won't react. I will not react. I think responding is huge, but not reacting, because responding, I'm going to take the time to really kind of understand where you're coming from. So
why this year? What was that catalyst to make you modify this year?
I lost everything in March.
Oh, so you're saying you needed to get down to that point to rebuild.
It was a bad point. You met me when I lost everything. I was bad.
You mean last year?
Yeah. Yes,
Wow.
yes. It was really bad. And I thought I've been through a lot. I thought I forgave people. I thought I did. What I did was I put a happy face on the stamp and all the drama that happened to me, all those horrible things that happened to me growing up. I just was like, I'm okay. It's okay. I'm fine. But I never forgave. So I had to go through forgiveness. Once I was done with the forgiveness, I was able to allow God in me so then I can really receive love, because who loved me? Nobody loved me. I was able to receive and understand and love myself, because I love who I am now. I'm growing into such a beautiful person inside. My spirit has nothing to do with my exterior, but the beauty that's within me is just so gracious. I am so sweet.
Vouch for that one.
Wow.
I'm sweet.
But it's so important that we find the love in ourselves and that we forgive ourselves and we release those traumas that we've had in the past.
Oh,
I see
definitely.
it time and time again with the people that I work with. They're so hung up on something that happened in their past that they haven't let go, and it just starts to put pressure, and the pressure hits a point where it's a breaking point. And then you see that they end up in jail, they end up doing things that they can never forgive themselves for. They cause trauma to other people. They get angry, they get violent. This happens because we don't release that pressure by dealing with things that happened to us in our past. And we all have traumas, all of us.
It's
I
interesting.
agree with you.
I don't know how you are in your families. I have a sibling, a brother and 2 sisters, and we're very much balanced of who we are. You almost have yin and yang in your family, don't you? Between you and your sibling.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. You've learned to accept and forgive to move forward.
I've also done work.
You have done the work. And by the way, we say that often, everyone that's watching out there. When we say they've done the work, that means they've gone through the process of reading and researching what it takes to become a better person, how to forgive all the past problems, how to move forward. you know, the Tony Robbins, the Brendan Burchards, the whatever those are out there, the Stephen Coveys, you pick up those books and you read it, and you do the work. At night, we do the work. Every night we write into a grateful journal. We want to make sure we identify what really happened today, that were important milestones, how we move forward. We do all these things. It's interesting, in our businesses, we have formats. We do what's called stand-ups in our business. Every morning for 15 minutes, we stand up and we talk about what's going on. We do day meetings. We do meetings when it comes to our work. But in our lives, we neglect to do the work to make sure our lives are just as functional as our businesses. And I don't get it, but I used to be like that. I never did the work.
Yeah, you did it. Not until recently.
Hey, Scotty Page, what's going on? Wait, unmute yourself, Scott.
I want to start. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? First of all, I love the discussion. Awesome job. Let me throw this out, because here's a couple things. This was a thing that completely changed my life. Here's the deal. The only thing that is real is us talking right now. Think about this. 2 minutes ago is an illusion. 2 minutes from now is an illusion, right? I can't change 2 minutes ago. I can't change 5 minutes ago. There's only one moment in time. It's always the same moment. Impossible to be another moment. The moment moves. I move, but it's the same moment. The problem we have is anytime, all suffering, unless you're getting chased by a lion, is because of one thing. It's because you're identifying with a thought in your head that is an illusion. It has nothing to do with reality, because I'm sitting here talking to you in the car. It's the only thing that's real. There's nothing else real. I can't change anything. So the problem we have, and it's the human condition, is this one thing, is we start to believe the thoughts in our head. They become such movies that we completely identify with them. And the past and the future, our only problem is time. The illusion of time is what causes all our problems. And what other part is that anytime you suffer, that is a gift. Like, I don't know the lady's name. She went through that, and what that did is it drove a different dialogue inside. It forced you to start to look inward and say, and what do I do now? What's happening? And so until we flip the narrative between the thinker and the watcher. Now, what I mean by that is, first of all, the mind is incapable of knowing truth from falsehood. It's impossible. I can prove that in a second. If the mind was capable of knowing truth from false, right from wrong, there would be no war. Those people wouldn't go and loot. They wouldn't do it. It's not. So what it is, it's that moral compass that's inside that's different. It's that voice that talks, that never changes and been with you ever since you were 2 years old till you're now. It never ages. It's that voice in the back, and it's called consciousness. It's waking up. So until people can start flipping that switch to become the watcher of your thoughts, as opposed to becoming identified with the thoughts. I mean, I've talked to people, I'm sitting there, it's a funny story. I was sitting there with a guy on the phone who was going through, we all know him, I'm not going to bring it up, and he was going through a horrible time. His mom was in the hospital, was just passed away. His dad was in the hospital in a coma. I mean, it was just horrible what he was going through. And I'm on the phone with him, and his business, everything was falling down. He was just suffering at a level, no work, no anything. We're on the phone. He's dying, like he's completely flipping out. What happens is he gets a phone call. He says, hold on a second, let me pick up the phone. He picks up the phone and he gets a call from a very famous person to do a very famous job. And I don't want to bring it up because I just don't want to bring who it was. And all of a sudden, I comes back on the phone and everything's good now. Nothing changed. He was still sitting in the same chair, having that same cup of coffee. So what happened is his identified with what he was. So the only thing that's going to save humanity, I don't care, every problem on the planet always comes down to the same thing, is identifying with thoughts and thinking they're real. So the moment you can start doing that inward work, you start going. The first thing is here's the problem. It's all about awareness, right? But here's the problem. How do I know I'm aware that I'm aware?
Well, there you go. I know you're going to the matrix stuff now.
I'm about to say, we're definitely there.
But it is. Your mind will convince you that you are aware. When you're not aware, you're asleep. And here's a really good example. Look it out there right now. I call it it blows my mind. It's so amazing to see. I call it the hate in the name of love. This is the one I love the most, right? Because remember, everything is about one thing, forgiveness and surrender. They're both identical. You cannot forgive without surrendering to what is. The suffering comes is when you do not let go of what is. When your car gets hit, it got hit. The suffering comes because it's a new car. Oh, I can't stand it. I feel shitty all week. The car was hit. It's over. I can't change that. So when I identify with that, I suffer. But going back to the love in the name of hate in the name of love, you see it. I watch all these posts. I see these people going to, they go to yoga every day. They've got their, their LGBT banners on. They're talking about, love. I love you. Love everyone. I love it. We got to love everyone. And then they turn around and say, fuck you, Trump. That's about as sleep as you can get. That is the number one pointer to say, holy shit, I'm really asleep. Because if I was really awake, I would never do that, because everyone does the best they can. You don't wake up every day going, how's the worst I can do? That's the best they can do. And we have to forgive. I walk around in a state of forgiveness all the time with people I talk to. When they come up and they're insane, I go, they're stuck in the human condition. They're locked into this freaking thing in their head. I got to forgive them and just let it go. So it's all about surrendering to what is. That's the game of life. And we have one job on this planet and one job only. And that is to help consciousness unfold. With that, that's my story.
Well, first, Scotty Page, thanks for pulling over.
I did. I pulled over.
I know you did.
Listening to the discussion, and I had to throw it in. Remember, suffering is inside suffering. There's an upside in every down. If you look deep enough, you will see. I've had things happen to me, the worst things in my life at the time, and now I'm so thankful that they happened to me, because if they didn't happen, I wouldn't have taken that look inward, which is really the game. Yeah. With that, thank you very much for letting me have the microphone.
I want to say, second, great hair.
Oh, well, but Scott's from Pink Floyd, okay? He's from the band. Scott, question. So that goes back to first, that's Eckhart Tolle that you're going after, the power of now.
It goes back to all that. Remember, all the great teaching, all the great avatars, from Jesus to Zona Rosa to Buddha to all of them, they all point to this same thing, right? They all point to that space. And what's interesting now is we're seeing quantum mechanics starting to prove all the stuff the mystics have been talking about for years, which is fantastic, because all these people, science and science and intellect is your biggest problem to knowing God or consciousness or superpower, whatever you want to call the thing. And as soon as you say the word God, you're messing it up, because that creates an image in your head of what it is. What it is, you are God. You are God, and you are actually, I'm a non-dualist, meaning there is only one thing. When I look through my eyes, I'm looking at myself. That's where I'm at. I look at myself all the time, because that is who I really am.
So Scott,
that switch.
Scott,
and it does go back to Eckhart. Eckhart was the first guy that really, that book, I read it 60 times, and I listened to it in my car for 2 years.
I know. You gave me my first copy of it was from you.
That's right.
Yep.
And then there's a couple other ones. But listen, the point is this, that little switch of flipping from being the thinker to the watcher is so simple. It's stupid, but we all miss it, because our ego is what the problem is. It's the insanity of the egoic mind.
Scott, breathe.
My favorite subject.
I know it is, but it's interesting. If you go back to Gilmore and you go read the lyrics to the Dark Side of the Moon, that's the reality that he was hitting. So what you played sax to is exactly what, look at the lyrics, buddy. He was talking about the now.
It's all, listen, presence, that's all we have. It's all that's real. It's the only thing you can affect change to. Everybody stop trying to save the world. The world is fine. That's what I love. Save the world. What are you talking about? The world's going to go for 4.5 billion years. It's going to go on whether humans are here or not. We're the ones that are the messed up. It's whether we can save humanity. And does it even matter? I don't know. Maybe we're in hell now. Maybe when you die, it flips, right? So this whole thing is this insanity of people walking around. They're like movies. And then you've got, like you said, social media is just feeding that ego like crazy. It's just making people nuts. So when you look at social media, it's what's destroying us right now in so many ways because of all the fake news, the stuff, the agendas, the people. We're not getting the information, and it's driving people freaking insane. It's just crazy.
It is.
I'm
Scott,
just,
Great.
blown away, I'm just blown away that my son, my 20-year-old son, said exactly what he said. My 20-year-old son,
That's
he's
awesome.
like Scotty Page. I'm not kidding. And he tries to get me to do shrooms because he says that's what's going to bring my reality to where I need to be. My baby, my 20-year-old is just his mom, and he researches, but he sounded just like him. He just sounded just like Scott. He's constantly coming back at me with exactly what this man is saying.
Scott might be on shrooms right now.
No, I'm not on shrooms, but I've heard that, because it does open things up, and I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
It's this whole trip life is such a trip, man. It's like everything is fine. It's all happening the way it's supposed to happen. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
I love you. You're awesome. I love it.
I love you too.
He's my big brother and little brother at the same time.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
There's nothing more important in life than the inward journey. I'm telling you, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Because all your suffering comes from this, the past and the future, the illusion of that, identifying. An example, okay, so this year was going to be our biggest year for Think Experience. Shit, we were putting a 1,600 seat, the most advanced theater in the world up at the Queen Mary. I had all these gigs. I had Budapest, Europe booked. We had Jazz Fest booked. It was going to be our biggest year. Stop, dead. Now, normally people would be like, oh God, you know what? It didn't even faze me. I woke up and said, that was all an illusion. Because I could have went to Jazz Fest, fell down and broke my head and been dead. I have no idea what that was. So to identify with the future is insane. And that's what the Buddhists talk about. It's like, remember, it's all about that, looking out at that goal and hanging on to that goal. It's great to have goals, but who cares? If the goal doesn't happen, who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is, the only thing that matters is the step you're taking right now. That's it. Zero. That's it. There's no other step that matters. So I walk around like, it's really strange. I've gotten to a place where I've got myself seeing where everything I see is the only thing I can affect, and it's the only thing that's real. So when you stay in that state, I'm like, how am I feeling right now? And here's a great exercise for people. This will tell you, this will really help you. This one really got me. Number one, ask yourself as many times through the day, as often as you can, remind yourself one thing, says, where am I and what am I feeling right now? Ask that question. So you're standing, like right now, I'm in this car, I'm putting all my attention, I'm sitting in this car, and what am I feeling? If I'm feeling any anxiety, tension, or fear, it means I'm identified with a thought, because in reality, I'm sitting in the car and I'm fine. There is no issue. So it's all that shit about flipping. You got to flip that perspective where you're watching your thoughts. Once you start to do that exercise, you'll start to see. The first day I tried to do it, I said, I'm going to get up the next day. I'm going to ask that question. Next thing you know, I'm laying in bed at night. I went, oh, shit, I couldn't even ask that question once. Why? Because I'm in my emails, I'm doing my work, my head's all over the place. I couldn't think. Next day I tried again, and I got it a couple times. Then I put stickers everywhere in my house, on my refrigerator, in my drawers, on my computer, that just said, wake up. And every time I'd see that, I'd say, where am I? What am I feeling right now? Yeah, I'm okay. Oh, boy, I'm all stressed out. Why am I stressed out? Oh, because I'm wait, everything's okay. I'm actually not being chased by something in my head. By doing that, you start to get to the point, and the first realization you have, you go, because that's, every time you do that, you're waking up a little bit. You just go, wait a minute. Is there two of me? Is there two of me? There's this thinker, and then there's this thing watching, right? And you start going, well, who am I? Am I this thinker or am I this watcher? So flipping that changes everything, because now you look at the world, and it goes back to that stillness point you talked about, Ken, where you said, stop for a second.
Be still.
It gives you,
Be still.
Be still, right? Because at that moment, stillness speaks. It just does. It allows you to do that. So all I'm telling folks, there's nothing more important. Just remember this, whatever's going on, the only thing that's real is what you're doing at that moment. Everything else is an illusion. Time is an illusion. And our biggest problem is time, because we identify with what happened in the past. I mean, it blows my mind. People hang on to that stuff, right? I got a friend that won't talk to me for years because he keeps hanging on. I keep trying to call him and go, dude, we were like best friends.
All right.
You're pissed off because I had to fire you because you did a shitty job. It has nothing to do with
So
this.
Scott, I know that this is what you practice, but
All day.
before,
All I care about.
and before that you didn't.
I didn't. No, because it took me to go down so low that suffering was so bad that I had to finally look inside because I couldn't take it anymore. It
So
forced me into
how do
it.
you teach this, Scott, without sounding like you're preaching?
I can't help myself. It's just, I don't know. I teach it. I talk about it all that. That's my mission right now. People want to save the planet, all this shit, all these things. I got all these deals. All I care about is trying to get people to take an inward journey, because there's nothing more important.
How do you feel what Scott said, Mike? Michael, do you feel like he's preaching or teaching?
Well, I love it because he's preaching to the choir in this case. So, I don't have any prejudice as far as preaching. I think it depends on the audience. But here's the problem that I face, because I believe in all of that. And when it comes to taking action, how do we know what the right action is? Giving everything that Scott said.
Scott, wait, let me unmute you, Scott. Go for it. Wait, I unmute you. Scott? Okay, there you go.
That's the issue, right? It goes back to everything is about awareness. But the problem is, how do I know I'm aware that I am aware? Because your mind will say, hey, I'm aware, but you're asleep. You don't realize it because your ego is driving everything. So the point is you have to get over that. So the way to do that is, again, it becomes important. It's important to read. Again, The Power of Now is a great place.
It is a great book. Why don't you go after The Power Now? Eckhart Tolle almost created a religion based upon it.
Well, here's the thing: is it's based on it's standard, it's the traditional, it's the real deal. The point is, you can't read it once. You have to read it over and over and over and over again, because every time I read it, it meant something different.
Scott, can you audible it?
Can you? Yeah, you can get. Oh, that's it. I listened to my car for 2 years. I made myself I said, when I get in my car, it's my shrine. I'm going to shut the doors, and I prayed for traffic.
Okay.
I prayed for traffic.
You got it.
Sequel. Yeah. Well, this is a sequel. A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. So, I'm going through a transformation where it's less about me trying to realize myself and be in service. And I think the more I can help other people, this is a way for me to let go of my ego.
Of course. That's the whole thing is, remember, all those books, Eckhart's great because he's the real deal. There's a whole bunch of spiritual teachers out there that are talking the talk, and it's great, and it's very helpful. And I can name a lot of big ones, but they really are not really there, even though they're saying great things. But, again, there's an ego still deep, because nothing's more dangerous than spiritual ego.
Exactly.
So let's step back, guys. Let's just step back for a second. I just want to, this is great. I want to make sure at least we're on path for what's going on right now. If we go through the process of listening with intent, making sure we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, be still, of course. I want some tools right now from all of us that we can use to diffuse the tension that's going on around us, because what we're seeing in other cities, that's not around us, but diffuse what's in our circle. What are some tools? And I just want to ask, so Jason, any tools that you suggest that we can use to diffuse the tensions that are around us so we can get along better? Any suggestions?
Well, I mean, that's a, I don't know if there's a short answer to that. I think that's an answer that probably starts from the education from the young kids. That I think, my personal opinion, I think the stemming of the division and the us not getting along the way we should, I think comes from how we educate our children, or let's just say the lack of education, of honest education and history and understanding who we are as a whole and where we come from, and just really having honest education, about each other. I think that, to me, if we can take care of that, and people are actually coming and growing up knowing everything about all individuals that live in this country and how this country is built, and talking about the negative stuff, not just slavery, but, you know, what really happened from, you know, the thing, you know, especially with this, I'll just speak from Black culture. You know, growing up, you learn that you were a slave. You learn that Martin Luther King got us to be able to, you know, civil rights, and we were able to have a right to vote. And those are pretty much the main things that we're learning as kids growing up. You know, and I think that not knowing all the contributions that, you know, people of color has put, Latinos, everyone has put towards this country to build this country, I think that's it hurts me as a person of color. And I think also hurts the white kids not understanding, wow, these people did a lot for this country. They were fighting in the wars. They were, you know, when the people, the original, you know, people that came into this country, you know, they used them to build and create agriculture and create businesses. And, you know, I think it's just, I think education is the initial ground base that we need
Listen,
to
how does it
on.
work when, without a doubt, education, you know, we just watched 13th the other night, which is a great documentary. If you never watched it, it's great.
Yeah,
we have the new Jim
excellent.
Crow, we're reading that right now. So we're making sure we're always, we're in the mode of learning what is coming out that's in the now, like Scott Page just said. But then what happens when there's other groups that are not as boisterous about their plight? So, you know, our Jewish population might be small, but just as persecuted, but they're not as loud. So what happens when the loudest voice isn't the one that really is going through a tough time? How do we then put ourselves in a situation? Should we always be learning about everyone, not just about one side or another side?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the talk. Hey, I was, I think someone posted on the Middle app about that hate is taught. And the more the more we educate these kids, it's going to be hard to teach them something different.
We're the ones
it's going to be hard.
Our generations are the broken ones, right?
I mean, we've been broken. We've been broken, from us all the way back.
Right.
So it's like saying, when we're going to stop this, when we're going to stop the cycle. And that's by, because the thing is, a lot of times you get people that don't want to hear about the negative stuff in this country.
My kid doesn't know color or sexual preference. He doesn't, they don't even care. It's actually pretty beautiful. Problem is they don't work. But that's a different story, okay?
I went to school at a place that I call the United Nations because it had every race there. And my family were one of the first settlers. But my grandmother, my Nonna Mia, was in the concentration camps there. And a lot of people don't know that about the Italian families. So my family was in the concentration camps. My family did a lot of struggling, but I saw no color. We had the blacks, the Filipinos, the whites, the Mexicans, every nationality I went to school with. So I didn't know any different, but everybody knew my history. They knew my family history. My family is in the history books in that town. And a lot of people tell me about my family, how my grandmother suffered, how my uncles used to go
But you don't associate with that, do you? You really don't. That's history, but it's not something that you...
I've been discriminated against a lot.
You personally have. That's
me
different
personally,
than your
and
grandmother.
my children. Yes, and my children. Because you can't tell my kids are black and white or what they are.
And I'm wondering, because I know that Sandy went through this, I'm assuming from other people's conversation, they personally have gone through it.
I have.
Right? You've gone through it.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first job I went to apply for. And I walked up to a white girl in the store. It was a little boutique that sold makeup. I wanted to work the makeup counter. And she looked at me and I go, "Hi, are you guys hiring for makeup?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, we have so many positions for makeup. You just have to go in and talk to the manager and she'll get you the job." And I was like, awesome. So I walk in, I go up to the manager. Manager looks me up and down. I go, "Hi, I'm just would like to apply for a makeup position." And she goes, "We only have register." Knowing that I didn't want to work register. And I was like, okay, no, thank you. Walk back to the front. The girl goes, what happened? And I go, "She said they only have register." She's like, "That's so weird. I know they don't, because they told me they're looking for people for makeup. And we need people of color working here." And I was like, "I'm of color?" Because to me, everyone was my color. I didn't see it. I didn't know. And all of a sudden, I had a wake-up call.
Well, here's our dialogue, guys. I don't want to keep this. I want to always keep it at an hour. And that is, number one, be still. Be still. Do exactly what Scott Page is saying. And that is, the now is the most important. and realize that your decision, whatever it is going to determine your future. Be patient, listen with intent, put yourself in the other person's shoes, try to feel what's going on, empathize, and then move forward with proper communication. Let's not blow up. And again, anyone watch, I know a lot of people watch this later on, and please put comments inside the area inside the portal. And Scott, I really appreciate your sermon in the car, not on the mount, but in the car.
One last tool I want to throw out at everybody before
You
we
got
go.
1 minute.
1 second. One of the most important, one of the great tools you can use is visualization. In your mind, I can tell you a whole story about that, but by reprogramming your thinking first, then you'll start to wake up. So by visualizing what's great about your life, that's why I love the gratitude thing. We got to be thankful, gratitude. The more you start visualizing yourself in those types of situations, handling situations correct, you program it. The next thing you know, if you do it over and over again, it just automatically starts happening, just like negative stuff. So reprogramming is the next thing. Gotta go. Thank you.
Scott.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone, thank
Great
you
hair.
for hanging out with us.
Bye, guys.
And we'll all
Bye,
talk to you
guys.
later. Bye, everyone.
All right, take care. All right, bye.